Among the conservative Singaporeans, the deep concerns over the moral values of society will remain. And among the gay rights activists, abolition isn't going to give them what they want. Because what they want is not just to be freed from Section 377A, but more space and full acceptance by other Singaporeans. And they've said so. So, supposing we moved on 377A, I think the gay activists will push for more, following the example of other avant-garde countries in Europe and America, to change what's taught in the schools, to advocate same-sex marriages and parenting, to ask for, to quote from their letter, exactly the same rights as a straight man or woman. This is quoting from the open letter which the petitioners wrote to me. And when it comes to these issues, the majority of Singaporeans will strenuously oppose these follow-up moves by the gay campaigners. And many who are not anti-gay will be against this agenda. And I think for good reason. Therefore, we've decided to keep the status quo on Section 377A. It's better to accept the legal untidiness and the ambiguity. It works, don't disturb it. Mr. Stuart Koh, who is one of the petitioners, was interviewed yesterday, and he said he wanted the government to remove the ambiguity and clarify matters. He said the current situation is like, I quote him, having a gun put to your head and not pulling the trigger. Either put the gun down or pull the trigger. First of all, I don't think it's like that. Secondly, I don't think it's wise to try to force the issue. If you try and force the issue and settle the matter definitively, one way or the other, we're never going to reach an agreement within Singapore society. People on both sides hold strong views. People who are presently willing to live and let live will get polarized. And no views will change because many of the people who oppose it do so on very deeply held religious convictions, particularly the Christians and the Muslims. And those who propose it on the other side, they also want this as a matter of deeply felt fundamental principle. So discussion and debate is not going to bring them closer together. And instead of forging a consensus, we will divide and polarize our society. I should therefore say that, as a matter of reality, that the more gay activists push this agenda, the stronger will be the pushback from conservative forces in our society. As we are beginning to see already in this debate and over the last few weeks and months. And the result will be counterproductive because it's going to lead to less space for the gay community in Singapore. So it's better to let the situation evolve gradually. We are a completely open society. Members have talked about it. The internet, travel, full exposure. We cannot be impervious to what's happening elsewhere. As attitudes around the world change, these will influence the attitudes of Singaporeans. As developments around the world happen, we must watch carefully and decide what we do about it. When it comes to issues like the economy, technology, education, we better stay ahead of the game, watch where people are moving, and adapt faster than others. Ahead of the curve, leading the pack. And when necessary in such issues, we will move even if the issue is unpopular or controversial. So we are moving on CPF changes, we are moving on so many economic restructuring changes. We moved on IRs. It's a difficult subject. It's not everybody supports the government, but we decide this is right, we move. On moral values, on issues of moral values, with consequences to the wider society, first we should also decide what is right for ourselves. But secondly, before we are carried away by what other societies do, I think it's wiser for us to observe the impact of radical departures from the traditional norms on early movers. These are changes which have very long lead times before the impact works through, before you see whether it's wise, unwise, is this positive, does it help you to adapt better, does it lead to a more successful, happier, more harmonious society. So, we will let others take the lead. We will stay one step behind the front line of change. Watch how things work out elsewhere before we make any irrevocable moves. We were right to uphold the family unit when Western countries went for experimental lifestyles in the 1960s. The hippies, free love, all the rage. We tried to keep it out. It was easier then. All you had was LPs and 45 RPM records, not the cable vision and the internet and travel today. But I'm glad we did that, because today, if you look at Western Europe, the marriage as an institution is dead. Families have broken down. The majority of children are born out of wedlock and live in families where the father and the mother are not the husband and wife living together, bringing them up. And we've kept the way we are. I think that has been right. I think we have also been right to adapt, to accommodate homosexuals in our society, but not to allow or encourage activists to champion gay rights they do in the West. So I suggest, Mr. Speaker, and I suggest to the members of the House, we keep this balance, leave Section 377A alone. I think there's space in Singapore and room for us to live harmoniously and practically all as Singapore citizens together. Thank you very much.